Kids every year. We brought them to the state fair. I look out and I see the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel and the Midway that stood out here. It was a huge part of our community. And then in 2009, the state of Michigan just cut us off. They shut it down, no warning. And what was worse, they had no plan for the property. They left it sitting here vacant. And when I was running in 2013 in a city with 20% unemployment, I kept saying the state needs to turn this property over to the city. This should be a place where there's 1,500 to 2,000 people working, and all you've got is weeds in an abandoned parking lot. And I got in, my first meeting with Governor Snyder, said, turn over the land. He said, you guys can't even run your own city. You have to have an emergency manager. You can't be trusted with the development. We're going to do it at the state. And year after year, as I watched them screw around with plans for movie theaters, agriculture, housing, impractical stuff that they couldn't move on. Finally, in 2018, the governor agreed to sell the land to the city of Detroit. Except it's 158 acres. There's 16 acres along Woodward. He says that 16 acres is too valuable to be entrusted to Detroit. So we'll sell you the other 142 and we'll handle the 16 on Woodward. Those out here are laughing because they know the only 16 acres still not to be developed. But this is what self-determination is about. We said this is a special property. It's going to be developed in a special way that's going to create 1,500 to 2,000 good-paying jobs. I turned down a number of proposals. And one day, Todd Platt came in from Hillwood, and Gary and L.A. Torgo from the Sterling Group said, we got this plan. Amazon will build this 4 million square foot warehouse, bring 1,200 jobs. And I said, for the whole site? And they said, yeah. I said, that's not good enough. We can do better than a warehouse and 1,200 jobs on this site. And I'll still remember the look on Todd's face. Detroit's turning us down. But this is where self-determination takes you. This was too special a site to do for that. And this is where Holly Sullivan is the great president of their worldwide economic development. She said, okay, we want this site so bad, we'll build the 4 million square foot warehouse, but we'll go up 4 stories. We'll shrink it to 80 acres. And she says, this site is so valuable, we won't ask for any tax incentives or any tax abatements. We want to be here. That deal with Amazon, I'll tell you what it did for us. That building over there, which I expect will be a manufacturing facility for hundreds of more jobs when we land a tenant there, and we will. Back here, you can see the historic dairy cattle barn, which would have been knocked down if you had a warehouse on the whole site. Instead, we are renovating it into a 60,000 square foot DDOT transfer facility for the tens of thousands of bus riders who connect from the northbound, north-south routes to the east-west routes, and we're reusing an historic building. And then next to that, we saved the facade of the State Fair Coliseum into a park, largely because of the influence of Councilmember Callaway, who was quite passionate about recognizing the history. And it's going to be a beautiful Coliseum Park, and there'll be another employment facility on this other side. We're going to come close to 2,000 jobs because we did it together. And because there were no incentives, we sat down with the community and said, even though this isn't a community benefits deal, what do you want? And the folks to the south said, we want to park on our own side of State Fair for our neighbors. And it went to the east, and the folks said, we want to park in our neighborhood. And so with the proceeds of what Amazon paid us for this property, we built the new State Fair Park, we built the Charleston Colton Park, absolutely beautiful parks, getting usage, and we had the money to take the band shell, which many of us remember going to concerts at, and it took a lot of work to move that band shell in one piece. There wasn't a lot left to it. And it will be opened across Woodward in Palmer Park to host concerts for decades to come. This is what happens when a city has self-determination, right? And Amazon promised at the time we'd have 1,200 employees that would have good paying jobs. And I'm happy to say that as of today, they've hired 1,279 people, average starting wage of $19 an hour with benefits. 60% of them residents of the city of Detroit. That's what we're trying to do. And so, Holly, you and Amazon have just been terrific partners. She said to me at one point, this is the easiest siting we've ever done in the country. I said, the way Amazon is treating Detroit, it should be an easy siting. Who ever heard of somebody coming in and hiring thousands of people and not asking for any tax abatements or incentives, right? And doing this. You've been great partners, and since Councilmember Callaway got elected, she has helped shape the vision of this place to be respectful of the history that was here, that she remembers as well as I do. The first time she called me and says, we can't lose the Coliseum. I was at the Shrine Circus at the Coliseum. You don't have to tell me, right? But we don't have, how can we do it? We can't lose the band shell. How can we preserve it? She's been an enormous force for where we ended up, and Councilmember, I appreciate what you've done. And now I get to introduce somebody who's been a force for the redevelopment of this whole community, from having the Huntington Bank headquarters downtown across from Comerica Park, the new high-rise on the site of the Joe Louis agreement in partnership with his sons at the Sterling Group, and really the person who pushed a vision to make this include Detroiters in the planning. Please welcome the chairman of the board of Huntington Bank, Gary Torno.